Alright, hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a few months since I've been able to post a new video. This video won't contain any information on the quadra-track build if you've seen my videos on that. Several of you have asked that I make one additional quadra-track video, and I'm going to have that planned, but as soon as I get time to do it. Some of you have requested that I do the mile marker 4x2 conversion. I'm not sure if that's in the cards, but I do have some other updates of things I've learned and things that y'all have told me and things that y'all have requested. So I'll get to that when I get to it. But for today, we're going to do something different. When I was building my 77 CJ7, I wanted to have intermittent wipers. And I looked around for some easy solutions, and I didn't find much. So one thing you can do is go to a junkyard, and some years of CJs had intermittent wipers, and there's a special wiring harness and control module that you have to get from a junkyard basically, but then you have 40-year-old components and wiring. So I didn't like that idea. So what I came up with instead, I found what is sort of the key to this is this little switch right here. It's quite a bit bulkier than the original CJ non-intermittent switch, but it will easily fit behind the CJ dash since it's sort of at the bottom of the dash. Basically what it is, it's a universal wiper switch. It's currently off, and it goes to an intermediate setting, or intermittent setting. It has a wide range of adjustment in the intermittent setting, and then it has low and high. And the way it controls the intermittent timing is through a microprocessor in here, so it's all very modern on the inside of this box. The part number in this case is 7560-04. The -04 just means that the wires come unterminated. There's a lot of other dash numbers of this part number, and they come with various GM or whatever brand of terminals already connected, connectors already connected. So, you know, I'm showing this for a Jeep CJ application, but it really should work with just about any type of permanent magnet motor, which is this type, that has 3 wires that are low, high, and park, and I'll show that on this motor in a second. So that's that. So this is a crown reproduction of the original Jeep CJ7 wiper motor from 76 to 83. So there's the part number. And it has 3 wires. And from around 83 to the end of the CJ production 86, there's a 4-wire version. It requires a 4-wire switch, and it's a fairly more complicated circuit, and I don't think the 4-wire motors will work with this switch. If anyone knows differently, certainly drop it in the comments, but I think because of the difference in the circuitry on the 4-wire, it wouldn't work with this intermittent switch from Littelfuse. I don't know if I said the brand of that before, so this is the switch, Littelfuse 75600-04. So when you buy your crown, the Ohmix Ada ones would also work. Just make sure you get the older 3-wire style instead of the 4-wire, and it should work just fine. So what I want to show today is just the electrical part. I won't show the installation in the Jeep because actually I already have mine installed in my Jeep, and I don't want to take it all apart, but I'll point out a couple things that should make it easier for you to do. So today I'm just going to show you how to connect it electrically, and then we'll test it and make sure it works. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of the connector. This doesn't come with a wiring diagram because this is just meant to plug directly back into your existing harness. So we'll just get rid of that altogether. And then we'll have to figure out which wires are which. Our options are red, black, and green, which should each correspond to low, high, and park. And park is what makes it come back to this position so that your wipers don't end up in the middle of their swing when you turn them off. and I'll figure out which color corresponds to which function. So I've already tested this off camera, so just to figure out what's what. Try not to start any fires by connecting things randomly, but anyway, the red wire is the high speed, the green wire is for the low speed, and the black wire is what is the signal that sends it to park. So that's the park signal. So that's that. And then if we look at the wiring on the Littelfuse switch, you see 6 wires coming up. And you can find this diagram online, or this data sheet, and I'll post a link to it. But so you can look at it for yourself. But basically, there are I think of it as 2 groups of wires. 3 go to the motor here, and 3 then essentially kind of go out through your harness in the Jeep. Sorry, not those 3. So let's figure out which 3. So yellow is low speed, white is high speed, and blue is park. So we have these 3, white, yellow, blue, that go to the wires here, and we'll match those up. And then here we have 12-volt power in is red, and ground here is black. And now you can see the color of this. This is a brown wire, and that's what actually pushes, sends 12-volt out to your washer switch for the windshield washer, which is actuated by pressing this button in. So we'll deal with these later. So we said white is high speed, so that'll go to red, white to red, and yellow is the low speed, that goes to the green one over here, and then blue over here is the park signal, so that connects to the black wire on the motor. So that's how we'll hook it up, and of course you can hook it up with your favorite way to make wiring connections. I personally like to use WeatherPack, the old GM WeatherPack design, and so maybe I'll show how those are put together in case that's of interest. So I have this kit from Eastwood, Crimp-Rite weather tight connector. It's a generic WeatherPack, and it comes with the crimping tool. It has some different jaws for different size pins for different gauge of wires. This is a removal tool. These are male and female pins of 3 different sizes, 1, 2, and 3. And then these are little rubber grommets that make the whole thing waterproof, and I'll show you that up close in a while. And then just a variety of different connectors. So here's a single pin. So the wires go in the back, and then these snap closed over the wires, and then the connector pushes together like this. Makes a nice tight, watertight seal. And then to pull it apart, of course, just open the clip like you'd expect, and it pops apart. Okay, so anyway, that's the kit that I'll be using. And then with the WeatherPacks, we have 6 wires to connect, and you can get a 6-pin WeatherPack connector for sure. It goes like this. What I found is this was a little bit bulky behind the dash of the CJ, and since we sort of had, like I showed you, 3 wires that go one way and 3 wires that go somewhere else, that maybe what I found better to use 2 3 pins to make the 6 connections, and they seem to play better behind the dash. They can move independently of each other. So I think that's what we'll do with this one. And so let me show you then how we make the connections. So we know because the data sheet tells us that these are 16 gauge wires. Right, so the WeatherPack pins, they're male and female pins, and they come All the male and female parts that slide together inside the connector are the same, but then the other end that crimps against the wires can be different. So these are 16 gauge. Yeah, 16 gauge, and then these appear to be about 18 gauge. And so these pins are for like 18 to 20 gauge, and these are for like your 16 to 14. And then there's another size pin for larger, like 12 or maybe even 10 gauge. Let's see if we can show you the difference here. It may be hard to see. So the pin on the left is the larger. It'll accept a larger wire when it crimps around. And the set of ears sticking up closest to you can't really see much difference, but if you can see that second set of ears, the one on the left has a little bit longer ears to wrap around a bigger wire. But anyway, whatever, you just select the pins that match the wires that you're working on. And now conveniently these are all pre-stripped. So let's go after the first three sets of wires that go to out to this motor. Let's start there. I'll show you how to do one of the pins, and then I'll just do the rest quickly. What I find is these pins bounce around and get a little bit beat up, so it's good to sort of form them a little bit. I'm gonna, if I can zoom in a little closer for this. So the crimp tool comes with some removable jaws. These are actually the correct ones for what I'm trying to do, but they're held in by magnets in the upper and lower jaw. And the front one is like for 14 or 16 gauge, and the back one is for like 10, 12 gauge. And so that's all spelled out in the instructions that come with the kit. What I find is that these little ears aren't well behaved a lot of times when you get them out of the box. So I find it's good to start with putting them into the tool with the correct size, and so the big end goes to the big side of the jaws like this. And go ahead and you see how it kind of wants to kick sideways? Well, when you're trying to do that with the end, have a hold of wire in it, that's a pain. You gotta force it to stay straight with one hand and close the tool until you hear it click. It's ratcheting. So there. And then it has a ratchet release right here. And that now makes your little ears there well behaved, and they'll work better. Now the other component of this that helps make it waterproof are these little grommets, and the way that works, let's take the white wire here. Go ahead and slide that grommet over the wire like this, and just make it right to the end like that. And you can see that it's a real soft rubber. It fits nice and tight against the insulation on the wire, so that's what makes it waterproof on the inside. And then take our little pin that we just sort of pre-formed with our crimping tool. And when those ears closed a little bit, that would kind of hold it all together. So we get some focus here, like this. And then we crimp that all together with their tool. Not hard to do this on camera. Get focus here. So since I was trying to do that on camera, I did it backwards, so let me turn it around and do it the correct way. All I did is crimp the big ears onto the wire, but I didn't get the wire itself crimped. So there's the little ears for the wire. Alright, now, so a really nice crimp, right? You can see the pin has grabbed the little rubber insulator, and it's grabbed the end of the wire. Very nice and very tight. So that's the first step. Let me finish up the rest of the wires, and we'll get back to you on where we go next. Okay, and there we have all 6 wires with the female pins. All right, so these are the male pins on the right, and of course they'll be inside connectors, but they will slide together like this, make a nice connection. So the way the connectors themselves work, let's take 3 of the wires. So what did we say? The yellow is low speed. Put that one in the center of the connector. You can see they just slide into these holes, and the outside of these grommets make the watertight seal on the outside. They just click in like any other pin. And then we need the white for the high speed. So I'll arbitrarily put that one on one of the outside holes. And then the last one we need is the blue one. And this is the park signal. Alright, so park, low, high. And then you can see this little lid closes over the wires and snaps in place, and it prevents, helps prevent, anything from pulling out, although the pins are locked in anyway. So anyway, that's the assembled male side of the 3-pin connector with the female pins on the inside. And I'm not sure if that's convention. I think it is, but anyway, that's the way I do it. So now we need to make the matching plug on the other side, female connector with male pins on the motor wires. And I'll need to strip those wires and get that going, so let's get to it. So, like I say, I think these are about 18 gauge. Let's see how well they strip. So yeah, that seems to be about 18 gauge. You don't need to strip off very much for these weather packs. So then we'll take our male pins and I'll resize those and get them crimped on with the little grommets, and I'll be back. And in this case I'll need to change to the smaller set of jaws. And these jaws happen to be about 20 and 22 gauge here, and some 18 gauge on the back one, so we'll use the back one. Okay, so here are the 3 male pins crimped onto the motor wire, and then so we'll need a female 3-pin weather pack plug, which is this one. And we put low speed in the center, so that's green in this case. And then let's look at our plug we already put together. So these will go together like this, and white was the high speed. There's white on the bottom of the screen, so that goes to red on the motor. Then that leaves black for park, which should correspond to the blue one over here. Snap our cover closed, like that. Now, and this additional grommet is what makes it waterproof in the center. Okay, there we have it. So that takes care of the high, low, and park part of the operation. And then we need to make another 3 wire plug to go on this side. We can go ahead and put together the male side. So we decided the red is 12 volt power, black is ground, and the brown is for the windshield washer pump. So we'll connect those 12 volt to the outside, ground in the center. And squirt on the other outside. Close that up. No, so that finishes that side of it. And this is more going to go more like to the harness in the Jeep. No, we'll get to that in a second. But that essentially makes it where if this motor does, or the switch does die, buy another one. Pop 6 new pins on. You can actually depin your old one with this little tool. You can see it's just a hollow tube, and what that does is it goes down in here and pushes your pins out, and so that will depin this plug. So you need to get 6 new pins, put them on these wires, and then you can reuse the same plug. Fairly plug and play, right? Not exactly, but not too bad either. Hopefully this thing lasts a long time anyway. And that also makes it, in this case, if you need to replace the motor, you buy a new motor, you just need to switch out this connector, and you don't have to worry about this connector for replacing the motor. So the way you connect this it's going to be a little hard for me to show. All I have really to show this is if you have a painless wiring CJ7 kit. I'll show you there. It's going to be real similar for if you have factory wiring, but I figure probably at this point maybe more people have a painless kit or an aftermarket kit of wiring, because your wiring is 40, 50 years old, right? So so let's look then quickly. If you have the painless wiring kit, here's the number. I think there was an older version. This is the here in 2023. This is the newer one. Sorry, that's the manual number. That's the kit number 10150. And got the same manual as I do. You flip to page 47, and basically it shows you what painless includes to work with in the wiring. So since everything's labeled and usually printed on the installation in the painless kit, you can see the little wiper switch tag there. There's a red-white wire and a yellow wire. And for you here, the red-white wire is power, so that's what goes to this red wire to get the 12 volts into the whole system. Yellow is washer power, so this is what sends power out to the pump under the hood for the washer that's connected to the washer bottle. So that needs to be somehow connected to then this brown wire. And then they don't provide a specific ground for this, but the way the painless harness is built, it's one continuous ground, which is kind of nice. And there's extra grounds, so you can use one of those. Or what I did, you can just ground it to any good ground. So if you're familiar with the CJ dash, if like right below the speedometer, if you push on it, it's pretty flimsy, but it folds back under, and there's about a 1-inch wide channel underneath. And so I put a bar of aluminum, inch wide, 1/4 inch thick, all the way down there to stiffen it. Bolted it in a few places, but that also makes it excellent grounding location. So I basically just took a wire from the other side of this plug and ran a short wire out to that grounding bar. But anyway, you just ground it to wherever you have a convenient ground. You can use one in the painless harness or one in your factory harness, or out to wherever you ground things. And so that's pretty straightforward, I think. Now, I will, since I already actually have this installed in my Jeep, I just wanted to do this to make a video, because I haven't seen that before, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So what I'll do is actually sell, these are all brand new parts, I'll sell these on eBay. And so what I'll do on this plug is I'll just make 3 little wires coming out of here, and then you can connect that however you like. If you have weather packs, then you can just take my wires out, put your pins on your wiring, and put the pins right in the connector. Or if you don't have that or don't want to do that, you can just use the loose wires that I'll put here to connect to the power that's coming from your harness, and to the yellow wire that runs out to the washer bottle, and then ground it however you like. And so I'll try to match the colors. If I have, probably have red and black. I don't know if I have brown. If not, I'll make it yellow, since it's going to be yellow on this side anyway. I think I have yellow. Anyway, that's that. Look for that on eBay. I'll put a link in the description below. I'll probably price it a little over what these parts cost. Mostly, I can make a few dollars, of course, right? But I encourage you guys to go buy these parts and do it yourself. It's a pretty quick and easy project. Even the mechanical install is fairly simple, and I think you can find that elsewhere on YouTube. So I'm not gonna cover that. And I will say one important part of the installation I want to cover is there is a size difference that you're going to need to accommodate. It's fairly easy. So this threaded stud, it's fine thread, 7/16. It comes with this nut and this washer, and then you can see that it's actually flat on 2 sides. So the original Jeep switch is just flat on 1 side, so it makes a D shape, and there's a D-shaped hole in the dash that this all goes through, and then mounts up. That hole is only made for a 3/8 stud, because the Jeep one is smaller than this. So what I did is I just took a small round file and opened up that D shape just a small amount. It didn't take much work at all. And then this one will slide in, and then so that it looks maybe a little better, I have black bezels on my other switches. So this is a black washer. This happens to be stainless. I think it's powder coated or some kind of black coating. So after you stick this through your dash, I just put this black washer so it looks a little better, and then bolt it all down. Like that. Throw your switch back on, tighten it up, and you should be good to go. And I'll include the black washer in case you want to use it. If anyone ends up buying this thing, you could have a black washer if that works for you. So I'm going to finish clipping on some wires here, and then we'll get to testing, make sure everything works. Okay, I've attached some wire leads here, so I was able to match the colors. So if one of you does end up buying this to install it, you have your option to splice these where they need to go in the harness, or use your weather pack, or whatever you'd like to do. Now, let's see if we can test if everything works the way it should. So the brown wire goes for the squirt. We might test that too, but for now we're just going to test the motor. Connect to we need a ground connection for this wire, but we also need a ground connection for the motor. So the motor receives power from the switch, but the circuit's not complete until you ground it. And of course, when you install it in the vehicle, it's grounded through the bolts. But right now, we'll provide it a ground with this wire, and then we'll connect up the red lead to 12 volts. Now let's see if our switch works. So it's currently off. We can get a good 12 volt connection. Alright. Okay, that's the lowest intermittent speed. It's pretty slow, so bear with me. So that's quite a good pause in between, and then if I go to the highest setting, as soon as you increase it, it will go one time. And now let's turn up to the highest range of intermittent. You can see that has just a short pause. The next setting is low. And then of course high. Alright, so that's how you get intermittent wipers easily on a CJ. And then one second, we'll just go ahead and test the squirt function, windshield washer fluid function. While we're here, make sure everything is good. Right, so what we're going to do here is just look for 12 volts when I press this switch, and that should turn on your washer pump. See, it does that, and as long as you hold it down, it makes the wiper go. Alright, I'm just going to press it quickly and release it, and the wiper should go 2 to 3 times. You should see 12 volt flash up on the meter. So yeah, it's about two to three wipes after you press the windshield washer fluid button. So okay, I think that's it. I might show you in the Jeep, the one I have installed. It's identical to this. How that works in with the actual wipers. In the description below, I'll make put some links for these data sheets. This is for the switch. This is a dimensional drawing. Has a lot of notes about the motor compatibility of the switch. This is a cleaner data sheet that shows, what each wire is for. Simple relay or diagram. And I'll put a link to the eBay ad once I get this up onto eBay. So if you guys want to buy it, help yourself. And if not, go build one yourself. And then I'll probably also put some links to where you can find one of these motors. You can get these, you know, Amazon, Summit Racing, you know, you name it, the usual places online. So, all right, thanks for watching. I'll finish up with just a quick demo in the Jeep, and we'll be done. Okay, so here we are at the Jeep. This is the windshield wiper motor cover. So you put the motor in, you pop it in there. Run the wire down behind the dash to get to the switch, and of course there's some linkage in the windshield here. You need to connect the motor to. It's pretty simple. If you already have a 3-wire motor, then you just need the intermittent switch. You can just leave the motor in there and change the wiring. Now if we look over here, here's the wiper switch. So it's already installed, tucked up pretty neat behind the dash. So let me get set up here, and we'll have a look. Okay, so here we go. Get some power to the switch here. First I'll do the window washer. Alright, after the wash you get a couple more wipes. I'll go to the fast intermittent. That's low speed and high speed.